everyone! Today I'm gonna be showing you a bit of a rare treat in the sense that I'm actually going to showcasing a ship that we had in test during the summer, but I actually never got around to making the commentary. I had the footage recorded and I was prepared to make a commentary, but never got around to doing it. And that is of course the Hayate, the tier 10 IGN destroyer that we had in test during the summer. Now, as far as I understood, the ship has not changed in any way. At least there has been no patch notes to indicate so. So basically the test ship that we had back then is the test ship that they intend to release. Now, why am I featuring this ship now? Well, mostly because the community voted on what resource the Hayate should be sold for, and they voted for free XP. And more importantly, recently it came out that the Småland, the tier 10 pan-European destroyer that's also for free XP, was going to be 2 million free XP. So now that we have a base price, well, I would assume that the Hayate will go for the same price, which is of course also 2 million free XP. So now we have a base price for how many resources you have to spend to get this ship. It also makes it easier to basically make up my mind on whether this is a ship that I would like to recommend or not. The Hayate is kind of like the IGN attempt of a mix-up between the Shimakaze and perhaps the Harugumo. In fact, it's more of those than a gearing. Some people have compared it to a gearing, but honestly I think it mixes up more with the Harugumo. It has a fair few amount of issues. First of all, the health pool is 20.8k, which is decent. I'm not gonna say it's super good, it's the same health as the Daring has. And you'll note that I'll be comparing this thing a fair bit to the Daring because they are both hybrids, but they are mostly gun focused, both of them. And, well, the Daring is obviously going to be extremely powerful with the upcoming IFHE changes because it no longer needs to spec IFHE. So it's gonna be a major ship to compare this thing to. Now, what sets it apart is obviously the fact that this thing has IGN torpedoes. The classic 12 km torps that hit like an absolute truck, but also suffer from some issues like they're very easily detectable, and the reload is absolutely gigantic. You saw that when I launched the torpedoes, 2.5 minute cooldown. And that's, well, you could enhance it by building more for torpedoes, but if you're building this ship for torpedoes, you might as well be playing the Shimakaze, because it's much better at it. What sets it apart compared to the Harugumo is of course the fact that the Hayate doesn't have the 100mm guns. It's got the classic Shimakaze guns, but unlike the Shimakaze, the reload is much lower. It's 4 seconds with the full build that you're seeing here. The reload goes down to 3.2 seconds, and then of course if you add in AR, it gets even lower. The torps, as you can see, they are IGN torpedoes, so obviously they do hit like a truck, and combined with this firepower, it looks on the outside like a fairly good ship. But there are multitudes of issues. The turrets that I just spoke of, well, they're actually coated in 6mm of armor, which means in basically any sort of DD fights, these things break extremely easily, and they are very easy to shatter. And considering you also kind of want to push in and pick fights with other DDs, because that's kind of what you do, the turret setup that it has, with 2 in the back and 1 in the front, well, it's better at kiting away than actually pushing in. Which leads to another issue, and that is the size. This is a large, very large destroyer in size. It is big, it is clumsy, it is meaty, and it handles like crap. It's not as slow as the Daring. It does have speed boost, and in general it does have that IGN speed. It's not as fast as the Shima, but it can do about 42 knots. However, the rudder shift is 4.6 seconds, Shima has 3, and more importantly, the turning circle is 750 meters. In comparison, Shima is 690. And, well, Harugumo is 830, so that's obviously even worse. In fact, it kind of sits right between the two, further emphasizing its role as kind of being between both of those. Another significant issue, though, is the concealment. When you add a really big ship, you don't give it any special speed, you make it very clumsy, then at least it should have good concealment, or it should be usable from long range. Hayate, well, as you saw from the shells when I tried to shoot the DD early on, the, well, IGN basic shells aren't especially known for their great ballistics. This is no Grozovoi that you can build AFT on and build it as a long-range gunboat. And more importantly, the concealment is 6.1, and 6.1 concealment is honestly pretty damn dreadful. He starts turning away, so I just smoke up and start farming him. You see the ballistics. This is 7.3 km away, and the ballistics are already quite high arcing and slow. The fire starting capacity isn't anything special either, neither is the HE DPM. With this full gunboat build, you reach 244k HE DPM, which is okay. I mean, it's basically what a Kaba has. Of course, you have nothing like its amazing ballistics. Haraguma, on the other hand, has 303k HE DPM. In fact, the Daring has 245, even without building for guns. If you build for guns, then the Daring HE DPM is way over 300k. So it far outshines the Hayate in comparison. Even the likes of Gearing has much better HE DPM than this thing. And it's probably an apt comparison because, as I mentioned, these are not the 100mm guns that the Haraguma has. So you only have 21mm of pen. If you do spec IFHE, you can bump it to 27, but I doubt you really want to, since the fire chance is the same as Shimakaze's, which is 9%. This is pretty decent when you compare it to Daring's 8%, but ultimately, because Daring just has such a faster reload and pumps out so much more DPM, the Daring is far better at starting fires than the Hayate is. In fact, the Hayate is very underwhelming at fire starting. It ranks up there with Kaba in terms of starting fires, and Kaba used to perhaps be back in the day a fire starter, but these days with all the power creep and such, it's not that special. It's decent though, and if you do get to farm targets like this case, you will probably eventually get from those arcs. That's 10 km away, and those arcs are already absurd. Here, of course, we see the issue once again, this handling. This thing really is a big, clumsy beast, and disengaging out of situations can be very awkward. I never got to fight the Daring back when we tested this thing, but I would assume a Daring will absolutely chew this thing up. Like, it's a smaller ship, better turret setup, just everything about it is superior. Hayate has the alpha, but when it comes to straight up 1 versus 1 fights, why would you not play Daring instead? It of course has the AP as well, whereas you have the standard IGN AP, and IGN DD AP isn't exactly known for being particularly stellar. In fact, the AP DPM on the Hayate is also pretty underwhelming. With the full build, you got 250k. In comparison, Haraguma has 430, Daring has 380, something like the Marceau, another upcoming premium ship that has over 400k AP DPM as well. So AP DPM wise, you are very far in the back. Basically everyone outguns you. Gearing has 318 if you build guns on it, which you don't generally do, but let's just say the AP is a joke, and it's not gonna give you much. In fact, Gunboat Yu Yang does more AP damage than you do, and we all know just how good the Yu Yang is in the current state of the game. So, now that we know the price, you have this. Yes, the torps hit hard. The torp reload is massive though. Actually, I didn't speak about the torpedo DPM yet, and that's probably something I should. I should also mention the AA. Basically, don't bother. There's no real AA ships left in the game, and the Hayate most certainly isn't one. It's got really poor AA. Yu Yang has better AA than you do. That's really all you need to know about the AA on this thing. Torpedo-wise though, 67 knot torps. It's a basic 12 km Shimakaze torp. 67 knots, 1.7 km detectability. They hit for like 23 point something, almost 24k damage. But the reload is 153 seconds. And because you only have 10 torp tubes, unlike the Shimakaze's 15, it means that your DPM values really drop. You have basically 93k torpedo DPM. It's okay. It's not bad per se. It's an okay value. Like, you're kind of competitive with the rest of them. But usually, for example, the Daring, which has less AP DPM or less torpedo DPM, he in return has really stealthy torpedoes, or alternatively all that firepower and all that utility. Somers has bigger torpedo spreads with more range. Gearing has the same thing. Gearing has 88k, which technically is less DPM, but on the other hand, Gearing torpedoes is that 16.5 km range with incredible stealth, which just makes them so much more useful. So you get 10 Shimakaze torpedoes, and Shimakaze already has been power crept pretty hard. And the guns simply don't make up for it. If the ship was cheaper, I could see myself saying, well, it's an okay experience. Note that, by the way, because you're really poor concealment, you also have really poor plane spotting as well. And in the current state where you basically get a carrier almost every single game, that is not a fun experience. It's 3.8k base, the plane spotting. In comparison, Shima has 3.4. So even if you build for it, even if you build for the stealth, you're still going to be spotted pretty damn often by planes. And most importantly, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Because unlike, for example, well, I'm going to compare it to the Daring as well. Daring has these fast-acting smokes that you can pop whenever you want. This thing has IGN smokes. And IGN smokes are, just as I mentioned, they are not very good either. IGN smokes take a long time to reload, and they don't last very long. So they just don't fit the overall hull of the ship, because poor AA, poor concealment, poor handling, and then being forced to pop your smokes because you're being harassed by a carrier is rough. Because if you can't sit behind a cover like I'm doing here, or you can't sit in a smoke using your guns, then you have to open water gunboat. And Hayate is a very, very poor open water gunboat because of its size and its clumsiness, and of course because of the poor range or poor arcs, you're forced to gunboat very close range. And well, with ships like the Venezia in the game, trying to gunboat at 10 kilometers is just asking to be devastated. So in the current state of the game, current meta, paying 2 million free XP for a Hayate? Just no, honestly. There is absolutely no reason I can give for paying 2 million for this thing. Like 2 million for Småland is already stretching it, and Småland at least has some utility with that speed boost and the radar and something like it can do something other DDs perhaps cannot. Hayate doesn't really do anything that can't be done better than by other ships. If you want a torpedo boat, Shima. Hell, even Haraguma with the reload booster, I think, because you can do so much follow-up gun damage with it. And in straight-up gunfights, who exactly is supposed to be afraid of the Hayate? That's really one of the fundamental issues with Hayate, is who is supposed to be afraid of the Hayate in a DD gunfight? Shima? Shima has, what, 600-700 meters better concealment than this thing? And this thing is clumsy and slower. Shima can easily kite away, disengage, call target on him. Only a potato will be caught, basically, by the Hayate. Daring outtrades it. Kaba, Grossoboy, Daring. All of these guys will outtrade this ship quite easily in a straight-up fight. This thing is huge, clumsy. It doesn't have the DPM to back it up. The turrets break really easily. 6mm plating on the turrets is basically a joke. So who's supposed to be afraid of? Who is this thing supposed to counter? Kaba? No. I mean, if you pick a fight with Kaba, the Kaba will just kite away, and with these shell larks you will struggle to hit it. Kleber, Marceau, no, all of this will heavily outtrade it. So what exactly is this ship supposed to fight? Z52. Maybe if you can catch a Z52 in the open, but if the Z52 smokes up and hydros you, this is a whole lot of surface to AP target, and even with your DPM advantage over the Z52, if he gets to use AP on your broadside, it's going to be very one-sided. And honestly, if we're comparing strength to the Z52 of all DDs, then we're probably in a pretty poor situation already. Yolong the Lion, he gets one volley off, and after that I just make sure to line up the perfect torpedoes. And as I mentioned, the torpedoes do hit very hard. It's Shima torps. They hit like a damn truck, and I have no issues taking out the Lion with them. This doesn't happen too much else in this game. The carrier tries to drop me a bit, but he doesn't send rocket planes in. For some reason I do have a smoke. Ultimately, not really much else happens during this match. We try to hunt down the carrier, but I do think he actually manages to outrun us and live until the very end. And the game ends. Once again, this game was played the 27th of July, so this was basically last summer. And as far as I understood, nothing has changed about the Hayate since. It's possible they're changing something. It is a work in progress. It's possible they might be changing something, but they never mentioned it. They haven't mentioned anything. All they've said is like, well, as far as I understood, they were pretty satisfied with the state of the ship. And that is not a state I'm satisfied with. Because if you really want to make the ship stand out, if, in my opinion, what the Hayate needs would have been concealment. What's basically happening is that you're giving up, you have 100 meters better concealment than a stealth build Haraguma. And if you build for guns, well, then you're a much, much worse Haragomo. And even if you build for stealth, why would you play Hayate over so many other DDs? It's clumsy, large, not really that fast, not really that healthy, it doesn't have too much health pool either. It's reliant on IGN smokes, which are not very good. It doesn't have improved pen or any sort of incredible fire starting chance. The DPM, AP DPM, torpedo DPM, all of it is pretty underwhelming. The AA is completely non-existent. I don't see a role. I don't see a point at all. And if you ask me, 2 million free XP for this thing? No! I'd rather buy the Alaska twice. If they put the Alaska 2 million, that's something I would absolutely recommend. But Hayate for 2 million free XP? Insanity in my book. Just no reason whatsoever to get this thing. Base XP was 2.7k. I mean, if you look at detailed report, we do have 93,000 HE damage, with some fire damage chipped in about 36k. But ultimately, to get these high damage games, it involves landing a lot of these torpedoes. And once again, there was nothing this game we did that we couldn't have potentially done better in other DDs. One advantage it has, as far as I remember correctly, the Hayate did not eat AP pens like the Haragomo does, so that would be an advantage. But honestly, it's such a poor advantage, it's such a poor trade if that's the only thing you gain in comparison. So Hayate, unless they're planning on changing it, unless they're planning on reworking it, it's not a ship I can recommend. Especially not if they're gonna put the same cost as on the Småland, 2 million free XP. No way. Absolutely no way. Anyways, this was a bit of a refresher for those who forgot what exactly is the Hayate. I do want to highlight that we broke past 99,000 followers on Twitch, so we have like 99,030 or something, so it's only 970 followers to go for that 100k giveaway. And as mentioned, once we hit 100k, I will announce the giveaway, and that will be over 70 premium ships given away on YouTube, on Twitch, on Discord, on Twitter. I'll have ships coming out of everywhere. So thank you guys for the support. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. This was especially requested because someone is like, what is the Hayate? Like, people actually don't even remember what this thing is. So this will be a small refresher. Oh, I had to turn on my phone. Started alarming for some reason. I have absolutely no idea. But regardless, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. Sorry about that. I will talk to you guys next time.